Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast, and we are on a nice sunny Tuesday in the city of Chicago. Perfect fall day.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we are four wide with a special guest today, Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, Cody Delmendo, and Michael Cerami from Bleacher Nation. Hey.
Let's go.
Thank you.
You do the Queen wave if you want.
I wasn't expecting an applause.
Queen is dead, so maybe we change the wave. So.
Don't let Brett get any weird ideas that will give him a better applause when he finally gets in here. Though.
Yeah, no, you don't need to have him. I'm around. Don't worry, guys.
Hey, thanks for coming in. I was trying to remember the last time. Was it last fall? Did we have you in the springtime too?
Yeah, so it was before the season, I think.
Right before the season, right?
That's when it was.
I think we only had you in the one time.
No,
Yep,
right?
this is only my second time.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
See, Luke's his old man brain.
See, and my brain's got you in here all the time, in and out. Now I know.
Well, like you said, you can't remember what you ate last week.
I don't. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday.
So.
Part of it's the lack of sleep.
Yeah.
Part of it's just, that's me. All right, so we're going to continue our report cards today. You're going to jump in on the Ian Happ report card. We're grading the Cubs left fielder. We're going to talk a little bit about the playoffs, and also it appears Dusty Baker is going to hang him up finally as a manager in Major League Baseball, former Cubs manager. Let's start with a little hypothetical, okay? I've seen you had a couple articles, Bleacher Nation, you and Brett have some stuff out there. An either or. Michael, if you had to bet your house or your kid's college fund, and it was either the Cubs will sign Yamamoto this offseason or the Cubs will trade for Juan Soto this offseason, which do you think is more likely?
So this is more likely not like what I would prefer.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I think we can do both.
Okay, so starting with more likely, it's tough, but I think trading for Juan Soto is more likely, in part because, as you pointed out, I have heard that the Cubs are interested in trading for Juan Soto, that was, quote, very real. That's what I was told. And we pretty much know for certain that the Padres are, very eager to shed payroll. Yeah. That's, plainly evident, and he's going to make $33 million in his final year of arbitration. They've underperformed. They need to reload from trading for him in the first place. So, his availability seems very likely, and the Cubs' interest is real. As opposed to Yamamoto, who I think had maybe Marcus Stroman not gotten hurt and is likely to pick up his option, or if Kyle Hendricks didn't have a fantastic season and the Cubs are going to want to keep him around, maybe there would have been a higher, chance of the Cubs signing him. I still think they're going to be interested. We know Jed Hoyer went and scouted him, but he's going to be a $200 million pitcher that everyone in baseball is going to want. Yeah. And I feel like that is a little bit wider of a market than Soto, which will require a lot of money and prospects, and the position available and the ability to extend him. That narrows the field a little bit. So just weighing all those things, I think trading for Soto is more likely. That said, any one player, it's always extremely unlikely. There's 29 other teams, or 28 if you're making a trade, that are going to be involved. But that's my long-winded way of saying Juan Soto.
Yeah, I do think
Soto.
I do think actually I guess in my opinion, the pool of teams that will be trying to trade for Juan Soto is going to be smaller than the pool. I feel like even though not all 30 teams are really going to have a shot at Yamamoto, they're all going to kick the tires, do some diligence, check in, see what that would take. As far as Juan Soto, the A's aren't going to go out and trade for Juan Soto right now. There are fewer teams than Yamamoto that are going to trade for Juan Soto. And I think that, so as far as likelihood goes, I think I would agree with you in the same way.
Well, and you just kind of jogged this for me. It's also the Giants are not going to make a trade for Juan Soto, and the Dodgers are not going to make a trade for Juan Soto, and and vice versa. The Padres are not going to want to trade him there. You know what I mean? And the Padres, as the third team, who obviously can't trade Soto to themselves, are one of the more active teams in the last few years. So you're taking out like 3 huge involvement teams from possibly going after Soto realistically, on top of, let's say, the Nationals, who are not going to be involved just because. I mean, you can really whittle the list down. The Cubs.
Yeah.
Will the Cardinals be willing to trade Dylan Carlson this time?
I knew he was going to think about the Cardinals.
I couldn't help
somehow.
myself.
That plus all the names popping up of the guys they've traded that are impacting throughout the league now is just like so sweet. Like Zach Gallen, Alcantara, and everything. And Garcia.
Oh, Zach Gallen? He was a Cardinal?
Back in the day.
Yeah? Oh, I forgot. Thanks for the reminder.
Cash considerations.
Cash considerations for that one guy who keeps hitting homers for the Rangers?
Some guy.
Some guy.
We'll talk about him later. What do you think, Cody? You like to agree with that? Soto
I
over
think
Yamamoto more likely.
I agree to what Michael and Ryan said. It does seem a lot easier considering the Padres, like Michael said, they want to shed payroll. I guess for me, it's just like how much are you gonna have to give up. But I don't think you're gonna have to give up as much as like you would have last year because only 1 year left. He's going to a walk year. You know, the Nationals tried to extend him, that didn't work out. Obviously, the Padres haven't extended him for probably because they're already paying guys a lot of money, and they went all in 1 year, and now they're in this. They really underperformed, and now they're in this situation where they want to shred payroll. So. For the Cubs, they're in a spot right now where, as we've talked, they need one more big bat if to go with hopefully Cody Bellinger, or if it's not Bellinger and they need to replace Bellinger and then continue to add. So the fit makes more sense to me, just because right now, especially if Hendricks does return, and Stroman opts in, your rotation's pretty full, and I don't know how the Cubs feel about that in particular, especially with all the guys they have coming up like Cade Horton and Ben Brown, and obviously Jordan Wicks came up last year and made an impact and stuff. That said, I would love to have Yamamoto, but I just think the fit makes more sense for Soto right now. So yeah, that's how I feel.
You guys were talking about how there aren't that many teams that could really pull off a Soto deal. Yamamoto somewhat is similar in that we're starting to hear reports, rumors, whatever you want to call it, that he wants a large market team.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And obviously we fit that bill. He's got Seiya Suzuki already on the team, somebody you would know. Once they sign Shohei, now you got a couple of guys he knows on the team, right?
He laughs. Once they sign Shohei,
I mean,
yeah.
I think there's obviously
hope.
going to be factors that play into the Cubs' favor. I mean, as far as international players go, like the Cubs are always in the mix, right? Like Ohtani themselves, like we're in the mix at the end. They were like the only non-West Coast team involved in that.
Only
like
National League team.
Like you're looking for a big market if you're Yamamoto. Like the Cubs are a huge market. They play in a huge market. You're looking for a big payday. The Cubs have more resources than almost every other team in Major League Baseball. Like a lot of factors that just being the Cubs plays in their favor.
Solid defense up the middle for him.
Sure, yeah. But whether they go after him is like a sign of like kind of what Cody said is like is Marcus Stroman opted in? Have they re-signed Hendricks? Like how do they feel about the rotation and the depth or whatever, as well as like have they been able to re-sign Cody Bellinger or not? I think there's a lot of factors, but if you're just taking it down to like the nitty gritty, the Cubs should be a team as if they want to go for Yamamoto to be in that mix as long as they can be, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and the difficult part, it's so hard. Like, I'm sure you've talked about this, so sorry to rehash it if you haven't, but or if you have, but Stroman coming back, if it prevents the Cubs from getting Yamamoto, one, that's dumb. That shouldn't be why you don't go after a 25-year-old, even if he costs $200 million. Stroman's 1 year. Yeah, but I am having like this crazy cognitive dissonance of like, actually, Stroman on a 1 year, $21 million deal is like not that terrible of an outcome. And it's not like any of us were talking about Yamamoto last year. Who knows who else is going to be available or come up or be a surprise. And I feel pretty comfortable that Hendricks is going to have a solid year. I think Tyone's really, I mean, it's so not cool to say, but kind of had a fine second half. Like if he does that the whole year, you're feeling okay about that.
I think he's definitely
Steele,
a big bounce back candidate.
yeah, definitely. Steele is going to probably just be fine and good. And so your rotation's kind of good then, and it's okay. And when you have guys like Ben Brown or Caden Horton who are like clearly right there knocking on the door, I don't know. I don't sweat it that much. I feel like putting the resources towards Soto makes a little bit more sense to me.
That's fair.
Well, a guy that would play for you 6-7 days a week is a guy that I'd rather have the everyday player who has the super high ceiling and might hit 47 home runs, 48 home runs. Like, I'll take that guy.
Who can ever be an MVP candidate.
I'd rather
every
have
single year.
the everyday
And
guy.
I don't know if you guys are saying that. Like, has the entire Cubs Twitter world forgotten who Juan Soto is?
Yeah.
I see so many comments that are like,
Yeah.
well, you know, you guys brought me on the show today because I love Ian Happ so much, right? If people are like, well, we have Ian Happ, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's Juan Soto.
Yeah, it's Juan Soto.
Your
There was
Happ jersey
articles-
won't be worn as often
Yeah.
if they have Soto.
Exactly. There was articles like last year or when he was traded that were like Juan Soto is this generation's Ted Williams. And people are like, well, Seiya Suzuki had a really strong second half. Like it's Juan
It's Juan
Soto.
Soto.
He's still
25,
yeah,
right?
He's so young. He is the Cubs have a great foundation. They're lacking superstar right now.
Yeah.
Juan Soto is a bona fide, immediate, everyday, magnetic personality superstar.
Yeah. I think it's one of those where if you have the opportunity and you have the ability to pull it off, like, it's something that, like, Jed always talks about and David Ross always talks about as far as, like, you want as many good players as you can.
Yeah.
You figure it out after that. Like, if you can go get Juan Soto, you do it and figure out how he fits and how everyone fits around him later. If you have to trade a guy or whatever, or you know whatever you have to do, if you can go get Juan Soto and you're not depleting your farm system, right? Because you're not
Right.
going to have to with
They're
Juan
not-
Soto,
they're
right?
not
Like,
going to have
as
to.
long as you have the ability to pull it off and you're comfortable with what you're giving up, you go do it and just figure out how that fits later. And I'm not saying it's going to fit to the best of the ability. We saw with the Padres, right? Like, they had all these guys and didn't do a whole lot. Like, they didn't make the playoffs. Like, you have to figure it out eventually, but if you have the opportunity, you go get that guy and then let your future people handle the issue that comes with that. Issues, quote unquote, because it's not really an issue.
My next question is exactly what Eva Wax is saying. What if you're only getting him for 1 year? Like, I don't know what the terms of the deal are. First of all, I would hope that if I'm sending great prospects over to get Juan Soto, that I've also worked out a multi-year deal with his guy, and you've got him locked up long term. I'll be honest with you, I like Juan Soto, but I don't really see the point in trading for him for 1 year other than maybe you are more likely to get that guy to re-sign with you.
Sure.
Maybe, but I don't want to give up all the prospects. This is where we were like
Last
a
year.
year ago before he went to the Padres. I was like, I don't want to give up all the prospects you just told me you needed 2 years to accumulate to get Juan Soto and then lose him a year later to go play for the Dodgers. Like,
Sure.
not into that.
Well, that's also what we're saying now is that you're not, like, whatever the price was at the trade deadline 2022 is not going to be the price winter of after 2023
it's 50x
anymore.
less.
Yeah.
That was 2.5 years, 3 playoffs
Yeah, potentially.
seasons.
Yeah.
And less money. You're getting 1 year at $33 million. I feel like there's a huge disconnect in what people expect that deal to cost and what it will actually cost. I think I'm gonna say what it won't cost because the Cubs have a lot of valuable prospects and any one of those guys can be the particular player the Padres want and whatever. This sort of deal does not cost you Pete Crow or Armstrong. It does not cost you Cade Horton, and it probably doesn't cost you Shaw. Like it just. Those are, to me, the Cubs' top three. Maybe Alcantara, maybe Owen Casey, depending how you feel. Maybe one of those guys is going to be in it. It's not multiple of those guys. Those types of prospects do not get traded anymore. We just haven't been involved in any of sort of these deals since they were, included in those sort of trades, like in 2015 and 2016 when guys were throwing around Addison Russell, who was like the number 2 prospect in baseball. That doesn't happen. Gleyber Torres, Eloy Jimenez, like those. That's why we all think that these guys they're not on the table for a Juan Soto trade for 1 year of a guy that makes $33 million. It doesn't matter that he's great. He is great. It will cost someone that you know and like, someone inside the Cubs top 10 at least for sure. But it'll probably be some combination of a big league contributor that maybe is redundant by the addition of Juan Soto. I'm not saying this is it, but it's like maybe somebody like Christopher Morel or Patrick Wisdom, someone who might otherwise take DH spots, let's say. A starting pitcher like a guy like Hayden Wesneski or whatever, maybe something like that, and then one prospect. That's what we're talking about. It's not like, Cade Horton and PCA have to go. It's just a different world, especially when the guy makes so much money. I don't think it'll be as painful. And for the, billionth time, it's like when I was pushing the Cubs to extend Ian Happ, and people were like, well, what about Brennan Davis? Where's Brennan Davis?
Yes.
I mean, you can't do this. Juan Soto's 24 and a half years old or whatever he is. Yeah. I love Owen Casey. I think he's going to be a stud. But Juan Soto is like one of the greatest players of this time right now. It doesn't matter if you have to trade him. You just got to be okay with that. The extending thing is hard because, yes, if you don't get that guarantee, it makes it a little bit more complicated. But at the same time, you're only trading for the 1 year. The Padres can't offer you the extra years of the contract. Right. They don't have that to sell. They don't get that, in their inventory. Yeah. So that's more of a Cubs calculus thing about how they feel. You know what I mean? Yes, you do want him more than just 1 year, but honestly, even if you got him for just next year, that's not a terrible. And then you could see if you can extend him. I'm saying if he was like, I accept this trade, or the Padres accept the trade, but I'm not talking an extension. I want to hit free agency. You still have Juan Soto for an extremely crucial year next year for the Cubs, in my opinion, where they could probably do well, win the division, and see what happens. And you have that leg up on trying to extend a guy that will probably get, if it wasn't for Ohtani this year, maybe the biggest free agent deal in MLB history. So that's valuable too, because it gives you that leg up on what he wants. You get to sell him on Chicago, get to sell him on the team. He probably has a good year. I think anyone that lives here knows that this is a great city, and most of the players that play at Wrigley love it. There's a lot of value there too. You just don't have to pay for that value. Yeah. You shouldn't have to.
Why not dream big, Cody? If it's like you're saying, if it's only a 1 year deal and you don't have to give up as much, and it costs you Hayden Wesneski, and it costs you let's say it's Owen Casey, because he's at a great, or Alcantara, one of those guys. 1 year, okay, it costs you the $33 million. Why not make yourself why not make yourself next year's Rangers? Why not make yourself next year's Phillies? Go out, make the trade. It costs you a prospect. It costs you one of your young pitchers. Still re-sign Bellinger to play first base or center. Bellinger's at first, PCA's in center, Juan Soto's your DH, and then still go get a pitcher. Spend like a real team.
Yeah.
I sat there and laughed at the Rangers last year. I was one of those people that was like, look at, they spent all that money, it did nothing. Sure, it could happen to the Mets this year. It did. But a year later, it did work.
Yeah.
So why not be a real team? Why not? Somebody in there said, let's dream big. Yamamoto and Soto. That's another one that should be realistic for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I've been sitting here saying that I have high expectations for this winter. Like I want to go into next year thinking NLCS or bust for this team, man. Like they however you think about how they tore this thing down, like your opinion about it or whatever, we're here now. And Michael already named off all these prospects. Like the farm system is as healthy as it's been since I was in college, all right? And
since the last core. I mean, it is easily right up there with what it was like then.
Exactly. So, like, you fix that. You have a nice nucleus with Horner, Swanson, Happ and Suzuki, and you're pitching and Steele. Yeah, and the pitching is on the rise. Like, this is the perfect offseason to really be a team like the Rangers were or have been the last two offseasons. Like, the Rangers signed Simeon and Seager 2 years ago, but this past winter they added DeGrom. He's not even helping them because of an injury, but like they did a lot this past offseason too. 2 consecutive offseasons where they've spent a lot of money. And then obviously we mentioned the Phillies and teams like that are taking that big step. And obviously it's a, actions speak louder than words thing from ownership in the front office. Like, I know a lot of people question, like, can Jed make like a big move like that? Like, Swanson was a great deal. Like it's paid off so far, but like, when is this franchise going to give someone a $200+ million contract, man? When is that going to happen? Because if this organization is going to get back to the promised land, then that's just what what they got to do now. Like the value of players and contracts and stuff, it just continues to rise. Like Swanson getting 7 years, $177 million is not much comparably to a lot of guys.
No.
I mean,
And I still think it was more than projections were saying, like before he signed.
Yeah, it was more, but like I remember doing this when he first signed. Like it's actually a lot less money. So he came in second to Hayward, who was 184 in Cubs franchise history.
Yeah, right.
But I think he was actually even closer to Lester at 155 when you account for inflation and the change in his relation to the top, his deals relation to the top deals of the market at the time. Like, we skipped over a whole $100 million. Like we went from like $150 to $200 million deals straight to like $300 and $350 million deals. It was like there was like two guys in between. It was Anthony Rendon and Steven Strasburg who got like 245 or whatever. I think that's what they got. And then everyone else started getting these big deals. And like, I'm looking at comments and people are like, you can't trade Alcantara. And it's like, yeah, but you also can't trade Owen Casey. And you also can't trade,
Right.
We can't trade any of the guys. I mean,
Well, our friend Barb thinks that Stuckey's on edibles because he wants to give them all
Yeah,
away.
she's mad. Stuckey must be on edibles. He would have traded PCA for Shohei. Yes, I would have.
yeah, right.
Yeah, if I could have Ohtani, I would trade PCA.
I think
Again today.
I think we've talked about the prospects and stuff when Juan Soto was first on the trade block last season, 2022, and I understand like prospects are great and the amount of like very good prospects the Cubs have brought up like is like exciting in a way, but they're also just prospects, and they've never set foot on a Major League Baseball field. They never played a Major League Baseball game. Hitters have never seen. Unless they played in WBC, right? They've never seen Major League pitching, and pitching prospects have never seen Major League hitters, right?
Yep.
It's the biggest step in baseball to go from triple A to the major leagues, and you see how many top or upper tier prospects end up fizzling out, like or just don't
Matt
amount to a
Mervis
whole lot.
was not a factor this year.
Yeah. So
I mean,
He wasn't?
it was maybe it was a little unlucky, didn't get a fit, but like your point, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So I think my two main things is like they're still just prospects, and until they prove something at the major league level, I'm okay with giving up however many are needed. I'm not saying throw them all at them, but however many are needed to get a guy like Juan Soto, who is younger than some of those prospects, and has been an MVP candidate multiple years in his career already. And I already forgot what number 2 was. Never mind. Someone take it from me while I think of it.
Barbara says you need young players. He is young.
Yeah, he's going to be 25 tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow
he's
he turns
younger
25.
than Matt Mervis.
Oh,
Yeah.
So my second point was, I also think part of it is the Cubs just didn't have young players in the last core. They couldn't bring up rookies and prospects to supplement the roster because they just didn't do a great job of doing that, whether it was drafting or developing, whatever. They didn't do a great job. Now the Cubs farm system is in a much, much healthier place with guys who could contribute at the big league level, that even if you have to give up some of those higher tier guys like an Owen Casey or a Kevin Alcantara, I believe the Cubs are confident that even if they have to do that, there will be another Owen Casey coming in.
Right,
there will be another Kevin Alcantara coming in. Just because you give those two guys away, if you have to, doesn't mean that they'll never be replaced in the system. The Cubs and what they've done is obviously as far as the pitching infrastructure, but even just overall development and player development stuff, the Cubs, I believe, are confident in what they have going in their minor league system, that they can find new guys, whether that's through the draft or the international free agency, that can eventually replace those guys in your system, right? Your 5th or 6th or 7th prospect in your system, because they have done so much work in that. So I think just because and it would obviously hurt if like Kevin Alcantara becomes this all-star player, right? But like the Cubs have to be confident that if they can do what they say they're doing at the minor league system, that they'll be able to replace what he is as a prospect right now. I think that's another reason why you have to be okay with giving up prospects, even the ones that you like a lot.
You have to have some stones at some point. Like you've got to go and take some chances. You can't just constantly sit there and say, well, in 3 years when the prospects get here, or when 2 years, we keep doing that. I don't have that many years left, guys. Eventually, you got to start making some moves. You got to spend money, and you have to make moves. We've had a nice stretch of losing. I hope everybody enjoyed it. It should be over. Period. It should be over right now.
And teams like the Dodgers are never afraid to, one, trade prospects because they're never afraid to do it, and two, they never ever say, well, we already have a good player at position. They never do that. Every time we look at the Dodgers, they're like, how are they going to play all these guys? And guess what happens? They win 106 games because somebody got hurt, somebody didn't have a great season, somebody had a better use of talent elsewhere on the field. I mean, we got to evolve, and we're all so stuck in what Theo Epstein told us in 2012 about like how to build a team, and it's changed. It's so much longer later, and I mean I don't want to say we, but like I feel that pull on the way we used to think building a team, what it meant, and what was the right way to do it, and it has changed, and other teams have shown us other ways to get there, and the Cubs have built up, like you said, a nucleus of players at the big league level that are ready to contribute right now. They have some money coming off the books this year, some money coming off the books next year. They have a ton of prospects. There's a lot of pitchers available in free agency and some big trades to be made. It is the perfect time, and they just demonstrated growth this year in actually winning more games on the field. It is the perfect time to go out and be aggressive and be bold and be relevant again, and because they haven't been in a long time now.
They need to have a bigger offseason than they had last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing. Last year, when you really look at the money they spent a lot of money. It was a big offseason, just signing Dansby Swanson and making some other moves. Bellinger turned out to be a great move, but that's the type of move they've got to make. If that guy ends up being Juan Soto for a year, for a couple prospects, that's what it's got to be.
Right. It's not like that's what I'm saying. Like, what? So you trade for Juan Soto, and he has an MVP year for the Cubs next year, and he leaves. That's not nothing. We got to enjoy that whole year of Juan Soto being awesome and maybe helping the Cubs win something.
Yeah.
Like, does anyone feel really bad about the $18 million or whatever the Cubs spent on Cody Bellinger? No, it was awesome to have Cody Bellinger this year. You can do both things.
And you said people say, well, they should have the front line on getting the head start on getting Bellinger because now we know he likes Wrigley. He likes playing her. He likes the guys on the team. Cool. The other side's true too. If you're thinking about, man, I don't want to spend $400 million, but I don't really know what this guy's made up of. But the White Sox ran into that problem. They gave money to all these guys. They didn't know what they really were made up of inside here.
Sure.
You get Juan Soto for a year, and you want to decide if you're going to give him $400 million, put him in your locker room for a year and find out if he's got it in here as well as out on the field.
That's an awesome point. Totally agree with that. Really like that.
It's a two-way street on the relationship. You can find out about him as much as he can find out about you. What the Cubs are looking for, guys, is a hero. For instance, hero bread. Pause. Applause, please.
Applause.
Thank you.
Hero bread.
Big of you.
I liked it. That was
credit
good.
to you.
Credit to me.
It was
transition.
yet again another A+
Wait.
transition.
Guys, can I say it? Big of you.
Big of you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's you.
Hero bread. Let me tell you about it, guys. Here it is. First of all, I'm not a carb counter. I'm not looking for something always super nutritional, but this stuff is not only going to help you with the carbs and protein and extra fiber. You're going to look at this and you're going to say, wow, is this stuff fluffy? Oh, is this stuff soft? The bread is incredible. And not only is it just bread, and it's tasty, flavorful, fluffy, like I said, they also have tortillas and buns. And the tortillas, whoa, 0 net carbs on those tortillas.
Oh,
0.
0?
Bingo.
Wait, like no net carbs.
0 net carbs
0
on the
net
tortillas. 0 sugar per slice on the high fiber bread. Mm-hmm. It's all good.
Yeah, this is real life. Stay in your seat.
Oh my God. I love this video. This is real life.
What
And the
a moment.
discount code is CHGO for 10% off at hero.co. That's CO. So they make the sliced breads, the buns, the tortillas. Don't miss out. Secondary nutrition, fewer calories than the leading national brand, 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. And right now, Hero Bread, I said it, offering the CHGO family 10% off their first order. Just go to hero.co and use the code CHGO to save on Hero Bread. That's Hero, HERO .co to save 10% today.
So we got playoff baseball tonight. You can go place a bet on CIRCA Sports if you're interested in having a stake in the game, right?
CIRCA
Obviously,
Sportsbook.
that's what I do. That's how I've gotten through this entire month watching postseason baseball without the Cubs.
And your 50 straight days of football.
Yeah, well, 50. We're day 20 of 50 straight days of football. I have not taken 1 second of it for granted. But one of the few reasons I love CIRCA is they strive to be a minus 110 split on the CIRCA Sports menu, unlike other sports books, which may use like minus 115, minus 120, which forces you in some aspects to put more money down to get a return that you might want if your bet wins, which can be annoying because sometimes we all just want to use the same unit, right? But because of if it's minus 115 or minus 120, it makes it a little bit of an annoyance. So when most of them are at minus 110, it's even, right? That makes it makes life easier. CIRCA does not limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit winning players. So we encourage bettors to download and explore all sports betting apps available, but they don't take away from people who are on a heater, like perhaps I was this weekend. Right. And then finally, the one of the great things about it, or about CIRCA, is there are no chat bots, man. They will, if you have an issue, you need to talk to someone, they will talk. You will talk to someone straight from their casino and resort in Vegas, and that's different from a lot of sports books which use chat bots and stuff like that. So download the CIRCA Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for CIRCA events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, text GAMB to 833-234, or visit areyoureallywinning.com. How to do,
Beautifully
Luke?
done. Beautifully done.
Thank you.
We're here with Michael Cerami of Bleacher Nation, and it's time to break out the report cards. We saved Ian Happ just because we knew you were coming in today. Ian Happ.
I don't think anyone stands Ian Happ more than Cerami.
Well, we were going to do it last week, and you were like, we need to hold that. We need to hold Happ.
Credit to me.
Credit to you. Big of you. So, report cards, I wish I could remember what I gave him last year. But again, I can't remember what I ate for lunch yesterday. So, remembering my grade for Happ last year, not good. I don't know what it was. I'm going to guess it was like B, B+. I don't think I gave out any A's last year. I don't think I gave an A- to anybody. But if I did, wouldn't Happ probably would have been high on that list.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking back of my grades a year ago, All-Star, Gold Glove, how would Happ not been pretty close to the very top of that list?
Yeah, Stroman had a good second half last year.
From my memory, Nico is the only one I gave an A last year.
I think Happ might have got like an A- or something from me.
He was right there, yeah.
Me too, just the lack of power.
Yeah.
Right.
And he didn't win a Gold Glove. Could have.
An All-Star.
An All-Star. So, Sari, we need the full reveal. We didn't get Michael's vote on this because we're going to get his commentary on this. We all went Bs. We went straight across B. Is that too low of a grade? I'm curious. See, Barb in the chat has given Happ an A. Godfather, always negative. C+, big disappointment.
Big disappointment and C+ don't really go together in my opinion.
Oh, man.
Happ, C from Donnie. Garrett, B+. I mean, they're really all over. Here's the one thing I want to say about Ian Happ before we all say why we gave him Bs and find out what Michael would give him. Just remember, he's not the one deciding he's batting third.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Let's just remember, he may not be a 3-hitter. It's not his fault that he was batting there.
Yeah.
So if that's your argument, stop it there.
Yeah, the Cubs could just have better players, and then he could bat seventh and be the best seventh hitter in baseball or whatever. Not the best, but...
So I went with the B because, and me and Luke, we realized this sometime in like August or September, but Ian Happ essentially put up the same season as last year. He didn't make the All-Star team this year, and he's a Gold Glove finalist, which I think we were all surprised, but whatever.
If he regressed anywhere, it was defensively.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that...
And yet still finished as a Gold Glove finalist.
Yeah.
Which
right.
I know what you're saying, but it's like, if you go and look at the left fielders, it's because the worst players defensively play there a lot of the time. So
right. But for me, it's again, it's not his fault he's hitting third, and I know the reason that people are giving him a C or a C plus or that are down on him, it's because he didn't come through in a lot of high leverage situations. It felt like, but again, he had a 3.5 F4 this year. He had a 3.6 F4 last year in 2022. He hit 248 this year, 271 the year before. So, okay, batting average is down a little bit. But his on-base percentage was 360 this year, 342 the year before. Slugged 430, 440 the year before. Again, about the same. 118 weighted runs created plus 120 last year. What's the difference? He had the highest walk rate of his career. He got on base. 21 homers this year, 86 runs scored, and 84 RBIs. All higher than the year before when he was an all-star and was clearly the best player on the team. I think what feels different this year is that, yes, the Cubs need more good players. But in 2022, it was very clear who were the good players on the Cubs. And you saw a little bit of, you saw improvement across the board this year. And the fact that Ian Happ, being in a lot of those high leverage spots that he didn't come through in, definitely puts a damper on it a little bit. I'm someone who thought that he would really excel in that 1 or 2 hole, or if you moved him down to 5 or 6. If he's in one of those 4 spots, I think that fans aren't nearly as down on him as they are right now. And admittedly, I've sat on this show and was like, why are we hitting Ian Happ third? Is this done yet? And it just never was. And, it is what it is. But you look at the individual numbers, I don't know how anyone can be down or disappointed in the guy. The guy is a very good baseball player that, again, a year ago, we were searching for good baseball players. So and I can't complain.
I see comments like this, he wasn't making what he is now. So you expect $20 million it's not 2015. People make 30 and 35 and 38 and 43 million now. A $20 million player is a Gold Glove finalist, left fielder with a 120 rated runs created plus and one of the top 5 walk rates in baseball. That's what it costs to have a guy like that on your team. It's the entire league. This is why I always stand Ian Happ. I swear this is the only reason, and I'll do it for the next Cubs player that this applies to. So rarely is there a player whose value to the team is so disproportionately appreciated by fans compared to other guys, and it has everything to do with whatever their first experiences with the player. So, for example, here's gonna get me in trouble. Jeimer Candelario had a great first 3 games with the Cubs, and then wasn't good the rest of the time, and he was hurt for a lot of it, and he didn't contribute a lot. And I dare you to say one bad thing about Jeimer Candelario in early September. It was what are you talking about? He's the greatest thing that's ever happened. He's Nick Castellanos. No, it wasn't close. But because that was their first experience, we get stuck in these loops, and it's a very famous type of bias. But Ian Happ has just been a steady 20% better than league average contributor. He lowered his strikeout rate, increased his walk rate. And then just looking at the expected stats, first of all, his WOBA this year was higher than last year. And his ex-WOBA this year, 349, last year, 306. He was a better player this year by 40 points of WOBA expected.
Now you sound like Brendan Miller right now.
I know, but you know what I'm saying? That is good. And when he shouldn't have been batting third, I agree, or the Cubs needed to have better players. And against lefties, that was the big disappointment for me this year. That was a huge letdown of what we expected.
Based off what he did the year before.
Yeah, I think that's
a huge bummer, and that's what drags it down for me.
For my grade, it was the right-handed versus lefty splits from the season before. I mean, you look 2022 because we thought he'd turned a pretty solid corner from there. He hit 305, had a 350 on base, 788 OPS in 2022. Those are all solid numbers from the right side. We know he bats lefty more often than not. That's just kind of how things play out with switch hitters. But then this season he hit 225, a 309 on base, and a 694 OPS. So all worse numbers versus left-handed pitchers this year than what he did last year when he was an all-star. And like you said, that was the disappointing thing for me, and that's why I'm pretty confident I gave him an A- last year. That's why his grade's lower. The defense definitely regressed, or he just had a worse defensive season this year than he did last year. It wasn't like completely off. It was just okay, maybe fine, right in the middle. And as we said, with like I guess just an indictment on the left fielders in the National League that it was still good enough for Gold Glove finalist. But it was more the as a right-handed hitter versus lefties. That's the way the numbers regressed for me this year. I think that's why my grade is going to be lower this year. That's why it's a B is, like you guys have said, a B is still. For me, a B is fine because he had a fine season. He wasn't. Yeah. He was slightly better in some areas, pretty much the same in a lot more areas that he was in his All-Star year last year. The whole batting third thing, I agree with you guys. I think that the position itself, the perception is that this guy needs to be one of your main run scorers, right? Your main guys, and when you look at Ian Happ, he's such a patient hitter, and I think that's a great thing for him. Is his on-base percentage is so high. He's willing to take his walks. He knows the strike zone. He's not going to chase too badly. But I guess in a position where you're expecting guys to just put the ball in play and drive in a bunch of runs, not take a walk when there's guys on first and second, like that's not what a lot of people want to see in that position. So I think it's kind of like that. Yeah, maybe he shouldn't be a 3-hitter, but that doesn't mean his season was bad because he didn't.
It's the juxtaposition. Yeah. It's like putting a picture of a growling dog next to Ian Happ, and now all of a sudden he's the growling dog just because he was third. But if you put the smiling dog next to him, all of a sudden everybody loves it. Well, it's not his fault he was batting third.
Look at this. So 67 plate appearances categorized as high leverage according to Fangraphs. Yeah. You guys know what he slashed this year in those positions? 286, 448, 449, 148 weighted runs created plus in high leverage situations. Yeah. Once again, he actually isn't that unclutch. He is just really good at taking walks in those situations, which coincidentally was right before Cody Bellinger was hitting for most of the year. So against right-handed pitchers, he was fine. He was good.
I think what and this isn't really a clapback at it. It's just more of like there was times it felt like where you felt like he was trying to walk instead of drive-in runs.
Fair.
And
I think that's what I was saying is like that he's not in a position like a bottom of the a position where there's a guy on second and third, just put the ball in play, try to get a run and whatever. But Ian Happ is comfortable taking his walk there because he knows. Taking a walk there is better than striking out, right?
That's what Reds fans used to get mad at Joey Votto for. They literally would get on Joey Votto for taking too many. It's like it's Joey Votto.
You're getting on base. You're not getting it out. You're getting on base. You're giving the guy behind you a better chance to score more runs, right?
Right.
But I also understood where people were coming from. As far as like they just wanted to see the ball put in play, get a run in, whatever.
There is value to put the ball.
Totally.
That's why Nico Horner can hit way less, but he appears to have so much value, exactly. and he does.
And it's very fair, and that's why I say like maybe Ian Happ in that position where people are expecting some of the most runs on the team to come from. Yeah, as that's why he doesn't fit in that role because he's fine taking a walk and working that count, and if he gets on base, and hopefully the guy behind him can drive the guys in. He's comfortable with that. He's fine doing that, and that's. I think that you said the juxtaposition. I think people just expect him to be this guy that's always just gonna try to swing and put the ball in play and score some runs, and that's not always what he's done. That's not always what he does.
Low? Is a B too low?
No, I don't think it is.
Is it too high?
I think that because of expectations set up in the prior year in 2022, and even if we're being honest, I don't know if you guys remember this, the beginning of the year, he still ended up with one of the highest walk rates and a really good OBP. He had an over 405 on base percentage into June this year. And so he did come down to earth a little bit because for a while he was elite at getting on base, and then he ended up just very good at getting on base. I think a B is perfectly fine. And I guess what I'm really getting at is that for me, a B for a 28-year-old, $20 million a year left fielder is beautiful. That's if your whole team was Ian Happ, the Cubs would have the best offense in baseball, and they'd have a 120 weighted runs created. That's if everyone could be him, then you're happy. So it's just directing all of your anger on that guy is so disproportionate to the value he provides the team. But it is funny. I got to say, I do this. It's almost like my character now. I'm just the Ian Happ guy, and I
think you might be related. Yeah, you're probably related. Could be his brother.
I just think that, like, I don't remember what I gave Ian Happ last year either, but what Michael was saying based off, like, the expectation for him coming in this year after what he did last year and how it stuck out so much because the roster was so different and not nearly as good as it was this year. It's, again, like when we looked up the stats at the end of August or beginning of September, Luke, I know you remember whatever show it was, and I looked it up and I was like, these numbers are literally the same as last year.
Credit to Cody. He did
I
it.
couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe it. And I just think it comes down to the fact that he just shouldn't be hitting in the 3-hole. And next year when they add Juan Soto or whoever it is to be either in front of Bellinger or whoever, I hope going into next year Ian Happ is looked at as the leadoff hitter or the two-hole hitter.
Makes so much sense as the leadoff guy. I don't really know why they didn't even try that. But.
They had the highest on-base percentage on the
before.
team, and he was hitting third. Like I personally don't
Unless
get it.
he doesn't like it for some reason. By the way, when we do grade the chat, and it's going to be soon, Barb is getting 5 stars because of this. Maybe trade Madrigal and Brendan Davis for Soto. I'm totally with that, Barb.
I agree.
I don't even know who the one guy is, but I'd trade him for
Barb
Soto.
is that is a very don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
She looked him up.
Scenario.
She said, I like it. He looks pretty good. We could trade for him. Chris, the super chat, I want to keep Alcantara for the sauce.
Oh, this was earlier.
does
That was
like
earlier.
sauce.
Sorry we missed that.
I like the sauce
I
too. He
apologize,
does have
Chris.
the vibes. You know, I'm a big vibes guy.
I know.
Just
He's
don't
cool.
pass. Whatever you pass on, don't pass on the Goose Island.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You dabble in the Goose Island every once in a while, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Love Goose Island.
He loves
The
it.
answer is yes.
Yes.
Don't drink water. I drink Goose Island. Brush my teeth with it.
Yeah.
Well, I got to
He
tell you
brushes
about
his teeth and then he rinses it out with Goose
That's
Island.
right.
That's the way.
Well, I got to tell you about Goose Island Beer Company. Goose Island is the official beer of CHGO, Chicago's beer since 1988. I keep comparing it. Like, I look at the 2016 Cubs World Series roster. I think their beer roster is better. Goose Island's. They got the Oktoberfest, the Beer Hug family, 312 wheat ale, full pocket pilsner, which Cody, that's his drink of choice when he does the beer bat chug, is the full pocket pills. I'm a 312 guy myself. Grab ultra fresh brewery exclusive beers at Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer.
Guys, are you in the market for a new or used vehicle? If you are, then we have some great news for you because Ray Chevy in Fox Lake has just joined the CHGO team. We're talking to the team at Ray, and they have this pledge called the Ray Price Promise. It's a guarantee that the price you see online is the price you pay when you go into the dealership. Now, we found in many other cases, other dealers will raise the price on you when you come into the dealership, saying things like, hey, are you a recent college grad? Are you active in the military? You look like a farmer. Are you a farmer? In most cases, the answer is no. And that's when the other dealers try to raise the price on you, saying the price online included limited rebates that you don't qualify for. Well, at Ray, that is not the case. The price you see online is the price you pay with no add-ons to the price ever. In fact, Ray will do everything possible to find additional savings for which you may make that price even lower than what you see online. And as one of the top-selling dealers in the Midwest, you're always able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. And right now, you can save big at Ray Chevy during their Truck or Treat savings event because 0% is back and now available on the new Silverado trucks, the perfect tailgate vehicle. So come on into Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake and find the vehicle you've been searching for. And best of all, pay 0 hidden fees with a Ray Price Promise. Visit Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com, serving the community since 1963. Find new roads. Truck or Treat.
Evil Wax.
1963 was just a few years before you were born,
That
right?
is correct.
Many years after. Evil Wax said maybe we could trade Brendan for Soto. I'll only accept that trade if Juan Soto can make graphs.
Yeah,
I need the graphs.
right.
We need graphs.
Yeah.
I need graphs in my articles.
This well-oiled machine can't work without the graphs. Because if we lose Brennan and we don't have graphs, then they're going to start asking me to do graphs. And
It's like, is Juan Soto a pitch doctor? I don't know.
yeah, right. Like,
We are already over time, so we got just a couple minutes here. What did you think of Game 7? I know Cody's favorite part of the Adolis Garcia 12 RBIs in 3 games is that he's a former Cardinal.
Yes, absolutely. If you didn't know, he was traded for cash considerations. DFA and traded for cash considerations. Nice. If you didn't know, now you know. That was my favorite part of Game 7. But I will say this. This Rangers team is fun to watch. And
very
I think
fun,
that's,
man. Evan Carter's awesome. Corsi.
like, I'm just happy to see the Astros are out.
Yeah, the Astros losing.
To go on the road and win
Great.
2 games, like,
Max
that was
Scherzer
fun.
pitching again. That's
Yeah.
Mizzou legend right there.
You went to Mizzou? I didn't
Oh
know
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did you go to
don't
Mizzou?
give me
I
that.
also went to
Oh,
Mizzou.
really? Yeah.
I don't
didn't
bring
know
it up
that.
enough, but I do.
They don't play this week, by the way.
No, they don't. They're on bye.
Big of you to know, Luke.
Dusty Baker going to hang him up. 74 years old. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. First of all, I think Dusty gets a little too much blame for what went down during his Cubs tenure. I think he's a pretty good manager, and he was the right manager for the Astros at the right time. Congrats to him on a great career. Wish it would have worked out with a World Series for the Cubs. If I'm still working, doing podcasts at 74, I'll be pretty surprised. Not because you guys won't still be here. 74 is pretty old to still be working, no matter what you're doing.
Oh, you
Hats
will.
up. 74.
You will
That's
be Grandpa
23.
Stuckey.
I'd still be here 23 years from now.
You will be Grandpa Stuckey at that point.
Yeah.
23
Actually.
more years.
We'll be sitting here drinking Goose Island together.
Yeah.
Podcasts won't even be a thing in
I'll
23
be-
years. You know, you'll just
I'll-
put a contact
You're
lens
just-
in and watch whatever you're watching. And, yeah.
You'll have to return for it'll be my 50th birthday. You'll have to return for that. Make the return to 5.
50. If I work 23 more years, I could show up for your 50th birthday party.
We could talk about our favorite parts of the last, 50 years or whatever.
I'd ride in on my scooter, my electric scooter.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you guys see Spider-Man 28? It was
So good.
Oh my
Still
God.
not as good as that Batman movie, Dark Knight, though.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Dark Knight's one of the greatest movies of all time. And
I
that
heard
will
it's the
forever
greatest of
be
all time.
the most fair or the most.
You got this.
God, I can't.
You
talk.
wait, hold on, come on, you got it. Come
You
on.
got it.
That will be one of
Start
the few
over.
takes that me and Ryan ever agree with. The Dark
good
Knight
job. You got through it.
is one of the greatest movies of all time.
It is the greatest movie of all time. So do we truly
Listen,
agree?
it's up there for me.
That's the 50 and 23 years
Oh,
shining
my
through.
Well, speaking of Dusty though, I know Barb does not like Dusty, at all. She says
A lot of people in the
Dusty.
chat don't like Dusty.
Yeah, I was very young, obviously, when Dusty was managing the Cubs. 06 was his last year, right? I want to say
05,
before
I
Lou. I think he was still in 06. I think
it 06?
before
Yeah.
Lou came
Yeah.
out.
Yes,
so
he was
young.
right
and
before Lou.
I turned 10 at the end of that season, so I don't remember a
Yeah.
whole lot of that era. But like you said, Dusty Baker was the right manager for the Astros when they needed when they needed someone to come in and just kind of get them through the whole the end of that, the cheating scandal and the backlash from that. Dusty Baker's a lovable figure in baseball. He's a good manager. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's been around baseball forever. He's just the guy that they needed to be. He didn't need to be this expert, in-game guy because they had so many good players anyway. The players are going to be able to get a lot done without that. Not saying that Dusty isn't, but what they needed is a guy who could be the face of the
Yeah,
team.
he was stewarding the ship.
Yes,
I
exactly.
totally get
and
what you're
get them
saying.
there. And so I think Dusty was the guy, even though he didn't win until last year, he was the guy they needed to just get them out of that last era and into what they've been able to do the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Dusty, we
no
trusty.
question.
Dub says, I like Dusty before the surgical gloves. And those aren't surgical gloves. Those are for shredding pulled pork. Gloves he was wearing. He was wearing the black gloves. Anyway, he always treated people with respect, too. You know who else treats you with respect? Diehards. If you're a diehard, you get the respect from anybody. Premium written content for members at ALLCITY.com. 20% off all the events. Dope merch for all the teams. You get a free shirt when you become a member, and you get to be in the members-only Discord. By the way, CHGO tailgate coming up after that Thursday night, before the Thursday night football game. One more time, for the third time this season, X Golf will give away a $200 gift certificate to any of their Chicagoland locations. Check out, sign up, be a diehard, and get a shot at that X Golf gift card. X Golf nearest you. Find it at playxgolf.com/Chicagoland. And while you're there, go right from there and check out FOCO, because that's where you're going to get all your stuff this offseason. You gear up for the upcoming Cubs season. Maybe it's a hoodie, maybe you want a straw hat, aloha shirt, a polo. They've got everything. Set decorations. Where else are you going to get a Hayden Wesneski bobblehead?
Or the Matt Schwarmer one.
The Matt Schwarmer one might still be available. It still could be on there.
Honestly, we should get it. It'd be a great
We
addition.
should check. We should just call them up and say, hey, can you throw us that
Yeah.
Schwarm dog bobblehead? That's what we would like.
Yeah.
And so we appreciate them. We also appreciate our distinguished guest, Michael Cerami, Bleacher Nation, for coming in. Just the second time. I thought it was the third, but that means now you got to come in a third time.
Hey, I'm
Absolutely.
here anytime you guys want.
We got a long off season, Cerami.
Yep. I'll come in the next show after the Soto trade, and we can play the clip of me saying the Soto trade
Soto trade. Hey, I said the last time you were here, I said Bellinger could have a big season because they were connecting him with their former Dodgers hitting coordinator. What happened? Credit to me, as
Big of
always.
you.
Big of me to remind everybody.
Big of you to remember.
Humble of you to remind
Well, that
everyone.
is. But anytime I remember something good happened, I remember it.
Humble of
Whenever
you to
you're
remind,
right.
to remind everyone
Even if
about
it didn't happen that way. That's the
That's
way I
fair.
remember it.
That's fair. We all just want to be right in this world.
Thank you for coming in. Hope you'll come in again soon. And we are back live 1:20 tomorrow. We won't change the time on you. We'll be back 1:20 live right here on YouTube. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. Barb, he is a nice fellow. We'll take him to
Maybe
Taco
me and
Bell.
Ryan will take him to Taco
Until then, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.